Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining me with this episode of G-Bear Homesteading the Desert. It is the 29th of September 2018, and we're looking down the hallway. That'll be going into the main cabin. I'm inside of the addition right now because it has been windy and gusty for 2 days straight. All night last night and all day today. We've been running anywhere from 15 to 24 mile per hour winds. And hey, guess what? My turbine was generating electricity. It actually got over the 200 watt mark, even though it's a 400 watt turbine. So it got halfway there at 24 miles per hour. Cool. Anyway, as you can see, I started insulating behind the tub. You see the tub there in the corner. And I tucked the insulation down in the back. Now I can put my cross beams in there that I can fasten grab bars onto, because I'm not getting any younger, so someday I may need those. Right now, I stay in shape by working hard every day, so I don't really need them. But, hey, when somebody figures out a way of reversing the aging process, let me know. I'll give it a try. So anyway, I got all these bays on this side are all done except for the narrow one and the narrow one. Okay? Those two right there will take one whole piece like that, cut down at the right position. The small piece will go in there and the larger piece goes in there. Then I need a whole piece in there. And I need to do the rest of this outer wall. Now, what you're looking at right here, this board that's here, is a piece of the siding that I cut out. I got ready here to do my punch through into the main cabin. So I got the archway ready to cut out. The only thing that's there right now is just drywall. And the only thing holding that seam together is mud and tape on the other side. I've already taken out the metal 2x4s, because once I cut that out, the drywall that goes on this wall will start on half of that stud and go all the way on through. And then I already took this stud that was here and I moved it over to that position. So I have this little rotozip type cutter that I can just mount onto my little rotozip, and I can go from the other side and just run it right down along that stud and cut the drywall out. Up in the top up there, I will be putting, that's a piece of channel up there, so I will be putting a piece of stud upside down into that so that it finishes out like this does right here. All right, you also notice that I took the piece of 2x3 that was here, that was for the other side of the doorway out. And that's so that I could reach through these holes with my screw gun and shoot screws in right through to fasten these studs to that stud. And then on the other side, I already shot in my drywall screws. And the way I located those was, on this side, I just shot drywall screws through at a couple of locations right alongside of the stud. Then I went on the other side and I just tracked that line down and just went 3/4 of an inch to the left of it as I shot screws in. So that one's all anchored, ready to go. And I'll put this one back in. I decided to leave it out until I bring in drywall and all that. It gives me a little extra swing because that's going to be the next step, is drywalling the inside walls of this bathroom. Because it's so windy out there, I really do want to take a shower, but I'm going to have to do the sponge bath thing inside, because I can't get into that shower and keep water coming down on me. It keeps blowing all over the place. And speaking of which, I'm going to come over here where I can get into some light, and I'm going to show you. So I was asked about how my knee was doing, and there's the scar that I had. That's about the... I would say about the size of 1.5 50-cent pieces. It's doing really well. It's healed up real well. There's no worry about it tearing open anymore, so I don't wear a Band-Aid on it. But I do wash it down every night with a hydrogen peroxide to make sure that I keep it nice and clean. And I do that after my shower. This little coat rack thing, this was actually on the wall right on the other side of that archway. I had to take it off because it's not going to hold up just hanging in drywall. So I brought it in here and I just shot the screws in to the two studs there because that's where it's going to end up in the long run after the drywall goes on. So what I'll do is I'll take my measurement from the end here over to where the edge of this is. I'll record that, and then I'll take a measurement from the floor up to where the screw goes, and I'll record that. So I'll have an exact location to reshoot this hanger right back in to the same location in the same holes in the studs, so I don't have to fight with it when I'm ready to do that. I got that from a friend of mine from Newport Beach, and I really appreciate that. And speaking about getting things, I did have another friend and follower, a subscriber, one of the subscribers on my channel, decided that she wanted to see me move along a little further. So she bought me some window trim and door trim to go around the windows. And I did contact her and apologize that I won't use those on the outside because I want to keep the desert sand look outside and not have these big bright white things jumping out. But I will use those on the inside here because once I get my drywall in and I put my ceiling in, I have to trim all the way around the outside here. So I'll use that for that. And sure, around the windows, I don't like trim around those on the inside. I like to keep the clean look. So I'll just be doing those finished in drywall and paint. I do got to have a piece of insulation that I stuck down there because when I cut that piece and that piece, the piece that was there was exactly the right size to go in there. So that part's insulated. So when I mentioned to that individual, and you'll have to go back through the comment section because she did leave a note that she bought me some trim and had it shipped to my local Home Depot store so that I could pick it up there. She also, after I told her that I wouldn't use the trim on the outside, she wasn't too upset about that, and I'm glad because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. But there are certain things we do out here in the desert that are a little different, and I do function before pretty, so I want function on the outside, and I have all this extra siding, which I can rip down the middle. These are 8-inch centers. I could do 4-inch pieces, and I could use that for trim around the windows, and then I won't have a bunch of scrap wood laying around my homestead here. And I'm repurposing. I get that stuff used up. Then it'll all paint in and all be the same color when I do paint the cabin. But the other thing she did was, I was mentioning that I was more interested in getting this room insulated so that I can cut through into the other room, and then I can walk between here. Then I can finish my plumbing, and if I need to take a shower inside, I can on days like today. So I want to get that done, and that's where my commitment is right now, is to getting that done. I also have to get up on the roof, and I have some roll flashing that's got an adhesive on one side. It's like a rubber flashing, and I'm going to seal over the tops of the seams, over the ridge, and over the top of the seam. So the roof, in essence, will be waterproof, although I don't want to get the OSB too wet over a bunch of times. But if I do get some sprinkles next week, as I said, there's a chance, 20% chance, then at least the work I did inside here won't get damaged. And like I said, I can always get up there, roll out some tar paper real quick, tack it down with some 1x so that it doesn't go flying all over the place. And if I need be, I can just buy an extra roll of that. It's 20 bucks a roll. So that's not a really big expense. I really don't like wasting stuff, but having a double layer of tar paper under the shingles doesn't hurt either. All right. So once I can get my drywall inside of the bathroom on the inside walls, at least on the bottom all the way around, I can at least take a bath if I had to, sitting in the tub. or I can take a shower by tacking a tarp, a Harbor Freight tarp around the walls so that the walls don't get wet, and just drape it down inside the tub. So it'll be just like a full circle shower curtain, and it'll work. You got to get function here. You got to think ahead when you're doing stuff like this. So anyway, that's what I'm planning on doing over there, and that'll give me the opportunity to get inside of here, and I'll be able to go right through from here into the main cabin once I have the rest of this insulated. And then I can work on getting the ceiling in, and then I'll be weather tight for the winter. Of course, that exhaust comes from my propane tankless water heater. And right now it just exhausts into this room. And with all these openings in here, I'm not worried about that building up carbon monoxide in here, because I keep the windows open in here and there's plenty of airflow. But once I get ready to close everything up, I've got to punch that through the roof. And when I punch it through the roof, I got to cut a 12 by 12 hole where that thing goes through, and I got to put a metal shield in there. It's a fire shield, so that the pipe is kept at least 2 inches away from a burnable material. But I like to, when I'm doing it for me, I like to do it a little bit further. And some people ask, why is that sticking out through the wall inside the bathroom? Well, that was part of my plan. I don't have a heater in the bathroom. I'm going to have a heater in the bedroom here. But in the bathroom, I don't. And I'm just going to use residual heat from the rest of the cabin to keep the bathroom fairly warm. On those extremely cold nights, while I'm showering and heat is running through that pipe, it's actually going to emit heat into the room. So it'll be like a double use unit. And I will be taping that with metal heat resistant tape, and making sure that there's no leaks in there, so I'm not putting carbon monoxide into the room. I do have to put a couple more of those flashings, one on the drywall on this side and one on the ceiling going through, so that I'm kept separate from those and I don't heat those up. But I turned the hot water on and ran it, and I went up there and grabbed a hold of that pipe, and it never got more than lukewarm. It never really did burn my fingers. And that's been there ever since I started using it back in a year ago. And there's no darkened marks on the pipes or anything. So, hey, working fine. All right, that's all I wanted to cover for today. And like I said, can't wait to where all I have to do is cut that drywall out, and then I can move in between cabins here. But I do get a bunch of flies in here because they're getting in through all these cracks, and they're getting in around that pipe right there on the roof. So when I go up there with that roll flashing, that adhesive roll flashing, I'll be sealing all of that, so I don't have to worry about bugs getting in while I'm working in here. And once I punch through, because if there's one thing I hate, flies. And they're all over the place out here. Loads of flies. But hey, and if anybody has any good tips on how to kill flies in large quantities, send it along. I'll be glad to look at that. Thanks. And thank you for joining me. Again, don't forget, if you like my videos, like me. Give me a thumbs up down below. And also leave comments, ask questions. I'll be glad to answer those for you. And I forgot yesterday, Carl and Dawn, that's CarlandDawn Homestead. Carl and Dawn Homestead. I'm giving them a shout out. Just drop into and check out their channel, and give them a couple of likes and subscribe if you like their channel. They've got some pretty interesting content on there, and they could use some subscribers. They're trying to get up to that 1,000 mark. So if you can help them out, please do. And thank you for joining me on this episode. G Bear signing off.